Well, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. If you can, please write something on the chat. Say, yes, I can hear you, or just yes, okay, thumbs up, just to check that my sound is, fantastic, all good, yes, that's good. I can hear you very well. Thank you very much. So at the moment, we have 13 participants. So thank you, everyone, for attending this webinar. My name is Jesus Cordero. If you don't know me, I am the communications coordinator of GNDR, and I am responsible for branding and visibility of both GNDR and in particular for VFL, which is the project that we have at hand. We hope that this will last very short, about 20 minutes. So I will go quickly through things. If you have any questions, at the moment you cannot talk, but I will open the floor for questions, and then you will be able to talk, and others will be able to hear you, so that we can have a questions and answers or a bit of a discussion. So keep your questions for later. So then we can stick to the time. I'll try to be as brief as possible, about 20 minutes, and then 10 minutes for questions. If we need more, then I'm happy to continue if there is more questions. This is an important topic within VFL, branding and visibility. So, and any questions that are left, or if any questions you have after the webinar, just write me an email, and I will be very pleased to help you. Right, so let's start. Let's go. Right, so this webinar is meant for GNDR partners implementing VFL. That means, obviously, GNDR Secretariat is one of the partners, but also the National Coordinating Organizations, the NCOs, and the partner organizations, the POs. It mostly affects NCOs, and we will soon understand why, or I will tell you why it's mostly NCOs, but it affects somehow in the relationship with partner organizations and how they make the project visible when they work for VFL. So why visibility requirements? Well, it's a requirement of the grant that has been signed with the EU. So in the grant, it says that in the contract that was signed, we have certain legal and financial implications, meaning that we have agreed to a certain list of visibility requirements that the donor, EU DevCo, impose on all the partners of the project. So not just the signatory with them. So by subsidiary, there is also some requirements that are transferred to all the partners. And for the partners, in the contract says partners must include information about the EU finance actions they are implementing on their home websites and social media accounts, which prominently feature the EU emblem, is the EU flag, accompanied by text acknowledging the support of the Union. We will see later what that means, and include links to the relevant EU websites and social media accounts. Now, if you are thinking, well, but we don't have a website, for example, well, in that case, there is no problem. You are not giving money to create a website, and therefore you don't have to. But if you have a website, and in your website, you are mentioning the programs and projects that you do, in that case, yes, it is a legal requirement that is a contractual requirement that you would include the VFL project as one of your other projects. And in that case, in that page, you would include VFL, for example. So that's what it means. It doesn't mean that you have to create a website if you don't have one. Or if in your website there is nothing about your projects, then you don't have to make anything special. So, and well, from day one of the project. So if that's the case, and you think you should have done it, please let me know, and I can give you more guidance onto what's appropriate and what is necessary. Because sometimes it's quite easy. There's a few things, and it's not very complicated what is needed to comply with the visibility requirements. Right. So who is responsible for EC visibility, for the visibility that we have to pay to the contractually to the European Union? Well, it's mostly the Secretariat, of course, and the NCOs, the National Coordinating Organizations. The POs would only be responsible if they receive money to create outreach materials. If the outreach materials come from the NCOs, for example, banners, leaflets, templates, anything, the NCOs will be the ones that should take care of the visibility, the logos, the branding, and the POs that should receive the material. So it's only if they receive money, only if they have to produce things is when they are responsible. And of course, the POs, the responsibilities use the materials provided by the NCOs and not just use their own materials or produce their own materials. The approach should be tough but fair, in the sense that there is no, it's not optional, but GNDR is trying to help all the POs and all the NCOs by providing templates for reports, templates for PowerPoints that we'll see later. I mean, this, for example, this presentation that I am doing is the template that should be used for VFL. And it has all the elements that you need. So basically, if you use the template, you are complying with all the visibility. And I will let you know where you can find it. So going through the table, you can see that the Secretariat and the NCOs have a responsibility on implementing visibility and branding in all of those elements, except the NCOs. They don't have to create the CMV, the Communications and Visibility Plan. That's up to GNDR, or the VFL website. The VFL website is obviously up to the Secretariat. But if you have your own website or your own social media, then you need the correct acknowledgements. And then again, everything that is banners, promotional materials, videos, publications, PowerPoint templates, or other materials that you can think of. Reports, for example. Now, I would like to make a distinction between VFL branding versus EU visibility. So VFL branding is using the VFL logo, and this is mandatory. Why? Because it has a lot of benefits, which is all of us being part of the same project, all of us gaining visibility when we share materials, communications. So it feels like a part of a global project, and that increases our own visibility as organizations and to the project at all levels, locally, nationally, and globally. And I say mandatory compared to the EU visibility requirements. This is a higher level. This is contractually binding. So, for example, what I mean is that if you fail to make a material without the VFL branding, so without the VFL logo, for example, okay, I will be annoyed. But if you fail to acknowledge the EU as the donor, then that you are breaking the contract, and that can have bigger problems. Problems like the EU doing complaining, the EU doing just withholding money for the Secretariat or for any of the partners after an audit. So the EU visibility requirements are more than mandatory. They are contractually and legally binding. So we have to be really, really careful and make sure that at all times the EU visibility is right in every single output material that we produce. Now, what constitutes the VFL branding? Well, there is a set of branding guidelines. I've placed a link down there that you will be able to use later on. I will share this presentation with you, of course, with all the participants. And through that link, you will have access to all the branding like guidelines, the logos the VFL logos in different languages, all the templates, and you will also have the EU flag, so that you don't have to find one or download one that is incorrect with the incorrect color, that sort of thing. So the branding guidelines explain how to use the VFL logo. So it's something that if you have a design team in your organization, they should have a look at it before they design any VFL material. Or if you hire external designers, you share those branding guidelines with them, along with the logos. And the logos are available in 3 different languages: English, French, and Spanish. The templates, there is 2 templates. One is for reports, and it's ready for you to insert your logo, your name. So it comes with some yellow places in the cover to insert the right things, and then all the branding, all the logos is absolutely correct. So then you just have to use that, complete the cover, and then fill in the report, and your branding should be covered, including the EU acknowledgements. I want to make a mention, finally, the final point here, about the use of the GNDR logo. It's not part of the VFL branding. So unless the material, the report that you are producing, or the banner, unless GNDR is actively participating in that event or in that report, or has contributed to that report, then the GNDR logo should not be there. So only if GNDR has participated. Otherwise, if you are creating a report for your national activities, you are doing it, so therefore your logo should be there, along with the VFL logo and the EU visibility acknowledging that they are the donors. And if there is no clarity about this, or you have questions, then let me know at the end. Now, EU visibility, where should it be? It should be in any output, everything. It could be a publication, or it could be a material produced or paid, anything that is produced or paid by VFL. If it is something that just because you are a partner doesn't mean that you have to put the EU logo in everything. It's only in things that are external and are going to be seen by others, and they are produced or paid by VFL with money from VFL. Likewise, in any partner's website or social media that mentions VFL. So if you have a particular page that mentions VFL, describes the project, describes what you are doing, the places in your country that the POs are working, in that page there should be the EU visibility acknowledging that the EU is financing this project. And there's only 2 things. It's very simple. What you need to comply with EU visibility is having the EU emblem, which is the European Union flag, and a disclaimer. That's it. So it's not too complicated, and the rules are very simple. For the emblem, which is the flag, they like to call it the emblem, this is the default visual brand that they use to acknowledge the European Union's financial support. And it's very simple. You just use the flag, and immediately below or beside the EU emblem, the acknowledgement should use the words "funded by the European Union." As simple as that. Funded by the European Union. So the flag, and then the text "funded by the European Union." You cannot say EU, funded by the EU. It has to be funded by the European Union. And that's it. That complies with the emblem. The position of the text does not matter. So it could be above, below, on one side. The font, you have a choice: Arial, Calibri, Garamond, Trebuchet, Tahoma, Verdana. There is like 6 fonts that you can choose. Any of those is fine. They don't want italics or bold or shadows, anything like that. No other colors. The only colors allowed for the text are the same blue as the flag, or black or white, depending on your output, the design. And the font size must be proportionate to the size of the emblem, something that looks all right. And the text should not interfere with the emblem. So it should not be on top or just halfway through or across, anything like that. So yeah, what you're seeing on the screen, that's absolutely fine. Very simple. And for example, you could say, this project is funded by the European Union, or you could say this leaflet is funded by the European Union. And that's fine as well. Now, the second part of EU visibility is the disclaimer. And the disclaimer should be in any material, any output that contains narrative text. So it could be things that need a disclaimer, could be a report, because you are narrating your views or describing what you have done, a policy brief, an action plan, a leaflet, anything that contains readable text, VFL guidelines, all of that, a website page. Things that don't need a disclaimer, they only need the EU emblem and the acknowledgement of funded, are a banner, because a banner, it just states facts. Is for example, workshop, the date of the workshop, or an event and the place, and that's it. It doesn't say anything. In that case, you don't need a disclaimer. It's one of the things that don't need a disclaimer. But if there is text that produce an opinion or is something that you're writing, then in that case, yes, needs a disclaimer. And the disclaimer, you can copy and use this one that I'm showing you. This output was made possible by the support of the European Union. The contents of this output are the sole responsibility of the organization and do not necessarily reflect the views of the European Union. Now, what you need to do is replace output for the type of material. So it could be, this website was made possible by, this leaflet was made possible by, this report was made possible by, the contents of this report are the sole responsibility of, and when it says organization, is the organization that is actually producing the material. So in most cases, it would be your own organization. Now, there is a list of steps that I suggest. And that tends to avoid problems, which is, if you follow this procedure that I'm suggesting, then it's most likely that we will be all right with VFL branding and EU, most importantly with EU visibility, which is the thing that I check the most. So if you need to produce a material, an output, a banner, a report, anything, well, if you are doing a report, just use the template. And if you use the template, then you're fine. You don't even need to check with the VFL team or with anyone. If you are not using the template because you are producing a material that you want to be designed, whether it's a leaflet, a banner, or something, then the procedure would be check the VFL EU branding and visibility guidelines. That's PDF document that you will have available in a folder that I've put all together for you guys. Then you design a draft of whatever is the material, and then you share the draft with the VFL team. If there is something standing out regarding the branding, they know the branding very well. They will let you know straight away. If they think it's okay, the VFL team will ask GNDR Communications, usually it's me, to sign it off. And I usually do that very quickly. So as soon as they send me something to sign off for branding, unless I am unavailable, I will just open it, have a quick check, and then I say, well, this is signed off. Or I will say, no, there is things to to be corrected. And then after the sign off, you can print, publish, and share your material. So I hope that if we all follow that procedure, we will avoid any further issues and comply with the EU visibility requirements. And that is all. So thank you very much. If you notice at the bottom, it says funded by the European Union with a flag. That complies. This presentation, you see, I changed this output. I put this presentation was made possible by the support of the European Union. The contents of this presentation are the sole responsibility of the grantee or partner and do not necessarily reflect the views of the European Union. So in this case, to make a template, I avoided to say the sole responsibility of GNDR. I just made it usable as a template, as a PowerPoint template, so that anyone can use it and is still compliant. So I'm gonna try to open the floor now. Give me a second. Okay, so now we switch to discussion mode. Let's hope that you can all have access to your microphones. Anyone has a question? I hear a no. If you think your microphone is not working, you can also, oh, yeah, all right. So I think it's Rabia Chan. Yeah, Rabia Ghani has a question. Yeah, can you say it loud? I cannot hear you. Otherwise, you can maybe type it. By the way, I am. So, Rabia Ghani, if you can type your question, please go ahead. By the way, I will also, we are recording this, so we will try to make a video so that if you missed part of it or you arrived late, you can watch it later. I can see Rabia is typing. Shivangi, I see that you are there. I'm concerned that people cannot speak for some technical reason. Are you able to talk, Shivangi? Okay, I have the question from Rabia. My question is about, you said when doing national activity, we don't have to use GNDR logo, just VFL and EU. Yes, that is correct. So it's not necessary. So if GNDR is not, I said you don't have to. So if GNDR is not participating as one of the partners in that event, then you don't need it, because basically you're putting a logo on behalf of the entire organization, on the entire network. Whilst the network is not necessarily, entire network is responsible for that particular action you are making. So it's only when the network is involved as such when the GNDR logo is used. Yes, and Nisha is saying the same. Yeah, you mentioned that GNDR logo is not required to be used in the activities and template. Is that correct? Yes, that's the idea. So if you see the templates, let me see if I can share my screen quickly. I'm gonna say share my entire screen. Let me navigate. Give me 1 second. Okay, so if you can see my screen, I'm going to open the report. And if you can see, here's the logo of VFL, if you can see on my screen. Title of the report, prepared by your name, organization, date. And then here there is a space for you to replace that space with your own logo, the logo of your organization, name of your organization, and the EU acknowledgement and the disclaimer. So there is no necessarily, and VFL branding is all there, and then you simply have to use this template to complete the report. But GNDR logo is not necessarily there because GNDR as the whole network is not, or the secretariat on behalf of GNDR is not necessarily writing and signing that report. The report is your report. No, Shivangi, I'm sorry, you're not audible. So probably there is some technical error. I'll have to find out what's going on for the next webinars. So, is there any more questions? Sophia? Yeah, I can see you have a question. Not sure why. Discussion. Why people cannot talk. What about the emblem and logo standard size on a small leaflet? The size, it doesn't, the European Union doesn't say anything about the size. In the folder that I will share with all of you in that link, you have also the long document from the European Union which describes how to use their emblem. But I can tell you the size doesn't matter. You can use that emblem, the flag, the EU flag, in any size. So if it's a leaflet, you can make it tiny. It doesn't have, there is no specifics about the size. And then they say, obviously, the font needs to be proportionate to the size of the flag. Sophia says, should be branding be approved by VFL for any publications by NCOs? Yes, that's correct. So the procedure would be that, and not just by VFL, the VFL team, but any branding should be approved by me, by GNDR Communications. In this case, because we are the ones contractually responsible with the EU. So yeah. Does that clarify your question, Sophia? Yes, you have to share the publications, share the draft. If you go to the final slide, let me try to get back to the slide. So first, have a look at before designing, have a look at the VFL and EU branding and visibility guidelines. Have a look at this presentation as well. And then you design your draft, whatever material it is. then you share the draft with the VFL team, with Shivangi, Ipsita, and then if they think it's okay, they will pass it straight to me, and then I have to do the sign off, and that's very, very quick. If they think it's not okay, they will come back to you and tell you, please correct this, something is missing, and then yeah, I usually am very quick to sign off things, banners, etc. And as I said, if it's a report and you use the VFL template that is in the folder, or it's a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, and you use this template, then you should be okay with the branding. You don't need to ask for sign off for those things that are in the template to make it easier for everyone. Yeah, I think I was mentioning that. Yeah, okay, I see about the PowerPoint presentations. Yeah, because it's the PowerPoint presentations and the reports. You can use the template. It's mostly for the sign off. Tends to be typically banners. Is something that I've seen a lot of them, and sometimes some leaflets or for example, a fact sheet that people want to put things about the project. And in that case, I think it's advisable, because if you are going to print them and go to all the trouble of designing it, share a draft with me, and yeah, I can sign it off, even if it's not finalized, but I can sign it off with regard to the branding. If the right elements are there and the right position and everything looks in order, then I can sign it off, and then you can finalize and print. Yes, correct. So reports, presentations, yeah, using the templates, then everything is fine. You don't need any sign off. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And if you have any further questions, yes, please don't hesitate to write to me at any time, jesus.cordero@gndr.org. And I hope you enjoyed this half an hour webinar. I try to comply with my promise as well of making this brief, and really, I'm very, very grateful for all the attendance. We will share the video, and we will share the presentation as well with all of you, and including the link to the folder with everything that you need for branding and visibility. Thank you.